Radar Update. My name is Daniel Vallis from InformedChristians.com, a website ministry devoted to discerning current events from a Christian perspective. The Bible commands us to be sober, to be vigilant, to be on the watch, and to be ready. So this is a watch of looking at what is already going on in the world. It is not a prediction. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or in the future. It's not looking good, but this is a watch of what is going on right now. In our last video, Paris, the City of Light, we covered a lot of material. I'm working on upgrading our timeline, so Lord willing, in our next video, we'll have that ready where we can really give you a better idea of everything that's been going on right now, especially within the past 2 weeks, how it's dramatically picked up in intensity and frequency. The enemy is doing something right now. So let's go over a few things that have happened just since then. On the 14th, the day after the Paris attacks, on the train line from Strasbourg to Paris was a train wreck of a high-speed train engine that was undergoing rail tests. But the thing that caught my mind is if you have watched our Time CERN in the Bible video or read our Time articles on that, you know we talk about how trains are used symbolically as a picture of time, and how train engines are often used to represent the point on time, and how in media, train derailments, train accidents, are often used as a picture symbolically of a representation of time coming off the tracks, time coming undone. So it's very interesting that that happened in all this context, especially of what we suspect the enemy is working toward. And if you haven't yet seen the video, definitely watch it about the time CERN in the Bible, because we show multiple examples of how Hollywood uses this repeatedly, trains in connection with time. So the fact that this happened the day after Paris, not too far from Paris, definitely caught my attention. On the cover that we've been looking at, there's symbols and reference to panic, specifically Pan, the one who causes panic. In our previous videos, we've talked about how Satan has been pushing the idea of Pan in media, getting people ready. Pan is about to come to the world. Panic is about to come to the world. Fear is about to come to the world. And there's been multiple instances. Just within the past 2 weeks, there was a disco panic video. There's another panic somewhere else. Multiple times already, panic has been showing up. And it shouldn't surprise us, because that's what Satan is deliberately bringing to the world at this time. Panic, fear, perplexity. So it was interesting yesterday in the news. Paris attacks. Live updates of city gripped by panic and fear and false alarms over fresh gunfire. Someone set off some fireworks and everyone got all panicky. Another article, panic in Paris. And multiple headlines are pushing panic in Paris. Panic, panic, panic. And they're being broadcast in the headlines. Panic, pan. This is very deliberate. Saturday, they turned off the lights of the Eiffel Tower in supposed solidarity with what happened and whatnot. So that brought attention to light and illumination by the lack of light, especially something that is normally lit up incredibly. It is an obelisk. It is a phallus symbol, by the way. But they're bringing attention to this, and this has become the symbol of the city and of this event too as well. So it's drawing attention to it. So then today they mentioned that they were going to relight it and bring it back up to its normal schedule and start the light shows that they do on it regularly as well. Apparently it's a regular daily occurrence. They do a whole bunch of light shows. So it's just interesting how it goes from normal lit to darkness, then to bright light, and starting up the light shows again. We've been looking at this is the year of light. This Diwali, the festival of lights, ended yesterday. So there's a lot of significance in pointing toward illumination and light. So when we see attention brought to those subjects, especially in this context, that should definitely raise some eyebrows. Now I'm working on a lot more graphics, so definitely keep that in prayer because it's taking a lot of time I'm working on, but I'm going to show you one. I want to help you visualize and understand these patterns, because a lot of times when we look at the patterns on the cover, people will try to read it too much. And sometimes we can miss the obvious things that it's pointing to. And usually these signs are a tell, just to remind us what is the most common thing that this is associated with. So let's look at the hat again. We covered that in great detail in the video last time. But when we look at the hat as a symbol, what does it represent? Why are they showing it close to the hidden hand as well? Because it's linked to the hidden hand. It's telling them what some of the larger concepts that are going to be pulled about as these events unfold. When we look at the hat just by itself, we find that it resembles a thrasher nest. It's silver nest. It was made with mallard wings. It has 7 crystal encrusted eggs in it, and it's called bird's nest. It was designed for Alexander McQueen, a well-known fashion house over there in the UK, who caters to the VIP, the elite, stars, people with wealth and influence. This guy rubs shoulders with movers and shakers in the world. He had definite connections. And so when we see this hat, we automatically know, oh, okay, Alexander McQueen, this guy has connections. He knows a lot more than he was letting on. He's dead now, but he's known for that connection to the VIP and the elite. And also, if you're familiar with the concepts in brainwashing and mind control, you can quickly find out and see that a lot of his designs dealt with those subjects. He had a far darker understanding of those than most people realize. So he's known for that too as well, but primarily for working with the VIPs and that elite access that he had. But then he's also known for the Plato's Atlantis collection, which was his last and greatest collection. So for someone familiar with him, when they look at that hat, these things are automatically coming to mind the most. A guy who's connected to the elite and best known collection, Plato's Atlantis. And we looked at a lot of information in that, how he said it was inspired by Darwin's Origin of Species. It features the de-evolution theme. But it also has the theme of supplanting nature by technology, specifically the extreme space-time compressions produced by the internet. So he's bringing up the idea of manipulating and compressing space-time, and in connection to CERN, which formed the internet as we know it today. But another thing that comes to mind when we're looking at this hat is not just the guy who designed it and design aspects of it, but what collection did it come from? It came from a different collection than the Plato's Atlantis. It came from the Widows of Culloden collection, which was well known for having a giant glass pyramid when he presented his collection. They had Schindler's List playing in the background. The model Kate Moss appeared as a ghostly apparition, as a false hologram in it. The dance sequence that she did was inspired by Dance Serpentine, the Serpentine dance from 1896. And it utilized video projected onto the glass pyramid. This is a technique called Pepper's Ghost. And we'll talk more about that in the future. But you can see just when looking at this hat, it automatically brings up three major associations. A glass pyramid, which was talked a lot about from that collection when it was presented and made the major news because the technique was really neat and creative. But he's also known for his connection to the elite, his insider information, and also well known for Plato's Atlantis. So those three themes are what's most prominent when looking at this hat. That's what it calls to mind most readily. And then also ideologically, Plato's Atlantis, the ideas and concepts of Atlantis, are linked to the glass pyramid. So these two strongly linked and three strongly linked ideas, we should not be surprised that we're seeing them on a cover filled with tells and symbols by the elite to these very same concepts, pyramids and the bringing about of Atlantis, and tied to the manipulation of space-time as part of that. So that is what we have to look at. That is what the hat references and pulls up. One symbol that has come to the surface in these Paris events has been a broken cross, a very occult symbol. An occult symbol at its base related to the supposed peace symbol, so there's a lot of ties, and we talked about that in the video too. But the broken cross, someone pointed this out to me yesterday, that when you look at a map of CERN, the whole facility is underground, but they have several major access points, and the major equipment rooms are at different nodes along the ring. But looking at the major hubs where the equipment is at forms a broken cross, and that is very, very suspicious. What has CERN been up to? Well, this week, interestingly, when we look at their schedule that they released, the day after the 13th, they started loading up for their new lead ions experiments, where they're going to be accelerating those at much higher energy levels. And so they just finished the setup for that today. And so they're going to start a reference run here over the next 5 days, and then start the major heavy experiments on the 23rd, according to their schedule. When looking at all the symbols that Satan has been using, pointing his disciples to this time and the days of the dead, and get them ready, pointing Pan toward that panic and the awakening, even CERN's telling, hey, there's going to be an awakening in the fall. We find the days of light, the festival of light, and the days of the dead just ended. So should we be surprised that they're just now starting to kick it up a serious notch and they're starting to run some heavy experiments? Very suspicious timing. Now, when we look just at the hat symbol again, the major themes related to it was the glass pyramid. We saw that at the Louvre, Plato's Atlantis, a lot of connections there. So it shouldn't surprise us then that yesterday, Egypt illuminated the pyramids. And they projected the colors red and blue, which we talked about before, fire and ice and duality and all that, projected that onto the pyramid along with different flags of the countries represented by the victims and whatnot. And then they also had spotlights going on, crisscrossing in front of the pyramid. But this definitely drew attention at a very interesting time with a lot of other connections to pyramids. They're drawing attention to the pyramid. But I thought it very interesting how they crossed these beams in front of the pyramid. Does that bring anything to mind of what we've covered lately? Does it look familiar? The crossing light beams, the red and the blue, and the pyramid. What about now? Red, blue, pyramid, crossing lights, and also an illumination near the top of the pyramid too. Well, then it shouldn't surprise us that yesterday another Star Wars TV spot was released. Among the other shots that were in the trailer too that caught my attention were the spoken parts, where the female star says, "Are you ready?" And the other character replies back, "For what?" And they throw in a few more filler scenes, and then it ends with a fall. The TIE fighter burns and falls to the ground. And what other symbolism have we seen lately with the fall? Alice in Wonderland falling to Earth. All these are linked together. And of course, another thing that's been popping up in the Star Wars trailers, in the Disney trailer that came out today as well, is this particular scene of an individual coming to power, very much like the Hitler pattern. If you have not yet, read our article, The Return of the Antichrist, which is going to be following the Hitler pattern. These colors, these montages, these scenes are not coincidental. They are done very deliberately. But when you look at that symbol on the banners, does it remind you of anything? How about now? CERN. What is going to be opening the bottomless pit to bring in Apollyon? It appears CERN is. By the way, the logo for the Rebel Alliance in Star Wars is a phoenix. And Disney will even tell you that's what it's called. And of course, the logo for the Empire shouldn't surprise us either. A lot of things are coming together. Then also in the Disney trailer was this unique shot of them firing two curved beams, which apparently were some type of tracking missiles or something, but they formed distinct two-particle curving beams, which instantly reminded me of the CERN video Symmetry, which has the particles moving in circles, accelerating to open up the time doorway. Which also reminds us of Jennifer Lopez's, and also in her American Idol performance, again in a very major venue, pushing this message. They projected and illuminated two particle beams going in opposite directions, which is what CERN does as part of opening up a doorway. We talked about this in our Time CERN in the Bible video. And then, of course, we also saw it in the Eurovision, the exact same sequence, and tied to opening a portal and wormhole to bring in their new world. All of this is part of going down the rabbit hole, which is what they are about to do, apparently, is what they're working toward. A lot is coming together. There is a rebellion going on. The hour is very late, friend. I hope you are paying attention. I hope these videos help you examine your life. Examine where you are, where your affections are resting, where your pursuits are, where your energy is going. What are you involved with? What are you giving your life toward? Christ calls us to be ready, to be sober, to be vigilant, because he is coming back soon. Satan is mounting his rebellion and getting ready for his offense, but it will not succeed. Christ is returning soon. The coming of the Son of Man, and when he is revealed, is very soon. 1 John 3:3. And every man that hath this hope in him purifieth himself, even as he is pure. We look at what is going on in the world to remind us not to live for this world, but to live for Christ and to live for eternity. May Christ give you wisdom, strength, knowledge, and grace to serve him more. Maranatha.